In the context of Detroit, urban agriculture has been a major community-oriented alternative to the industrial factory landscape since the 1970s and continues to grow through organizations like Keep Growing Detroit, the Michigan Urban Farming Initiative, and Oakland Avenue Urban Farms. Through organizations like these, the city began what Grace Lee Boggs calls another kind of education that values people as human beings based on small-scale production, cooperation, and self-reliance. The existing Old Sears site is located between zones of industrial land, single-family housing, and the commercial corridor of Grand River Avenue. The community is interwoven with non-for-profit organizations and religious groups which offer learning centers and faith-based discourse. The Old Sears site represents a vast set of parcels of mostly industrial and residential land at 265,000 square feet. The building remnants of a once flourishing commercial intersection are now mostly vacant, with the Oakman building still standing at the corner of Grand River Avenue and Oakman Boulevard. City Plus Farm reorders the site through a series of private, civic, and production programs with a domestic enclosure at the System Center. City Plus Farm hopes to reconcile urban domesticities with agricultural production through a patchwork of private, civic, and farming zones across the Old Sears site. Agricultural land takes up roughly 35% of the site, while housing and surrounding recreational spaces account for another 45%. Civic programs such as auditorium, classroom, and marketplace frame the remaining 20%. The project's major districts are divided into linear strata containing building sites and agricultural zones across the site, while circulation paths cross these zones, creating patchworks of production and domesticities. Public and private parks further articulate the site and allow for interstitial outdoor zones for recreation. Civic Building A houses performance spaces, and Building B a central market and food hall at ground and second level. Buildings C and D provide ground floor space for communal learning centers. The unit types are divided among the separate buildings and accommodate 1 to 3 bedroom apartments. Residential units stack above the civic program, creating the 4 low-rise towers along Oakman Boulevard. Six linear garden houses exist at the east of the Civic Building, branching towards the Joe Louis Greenway, while agricultural structures such as greenhouses and hoop houses aggregate near. The 2 building types are differentiated in form and structural systems. The Oakman Towers utilize a CLT structural system with 20-foot spans, while the garden houses are constructed with a light frame wood structure familiar within the single-family residencies of Detroit. The buildings express a material language tied to the natural environment through slatted wood boards and ceramic tiles. The scale of this articulation is consistent across the scales of buildings, representing a domestic community. The Oakman Towers accommodate a unique unit type at roof level, integrating 2-story units with greenhouse structures and communal spaces above. Shared kitchen and lounge spaces are provided in the higher density garden houses, while private residential greenhouses are integrated into both towers and garden houses. Interior finishes continue the facade's natural sensibility with plywood-lined walls and cabinetry. This project, through its structural, material, and spatial logic, continues a narrative of agricultural production within the city of Detroit and its long-standing legacy.